live stream icon, so I think we're live.
Oh, are we live? Well, that's
Yeah.
a wonderful. I do too. Oh my gosh, it figured it out. That's wonderful. Okay, so I guess we've started.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
I love how scripted that was. Today we're going to talk about the new program. I'm really super duper excited about it, called Ferocious to Fantastic, that we're going to be running starting on Monday. So that's coming up soon.
A week from today.
I know, a week from today. So what do you think, Jenny, the program's about?
Well, what I'm hoping it turns into is getting some women together and helping them find out what some of their stressors and weaknesses are and learning how to release that. And then when they are more in tune to stuff, hopefully they are more able to hear their intuition and their desires and actually make a change instead of just talking about making changes.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that happens to most people. They get stuck, right? We dream about the changes, but we don't know how to make it happen, which is why you and I are working together, because
Right.
hopefully you'll handle the spiritual stuff, and hopefully, fingers crossed, and I'll handle the stuff that has to do with the body mind science. And so, the turning point for me was when I realized I could stop reacting to everything that was around me. I didn't have to be as stressed out as I was anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was always like of two brains. One brain was, the black devil on the, shoulder saying, you should say this, and then the other one on the other shoulder saying, oh my God, that's horrible. I can't believe you would even think about saying something like that. That's the most awful thing that's ever happened. And having those two voices in my head all the time talking made me feel really stressed. And
Mm-hmm.
what I figured out is that I could bring them together and integrate them, so I didn't feel like I had all these different parts and pieces of me that were fighting. Instead, I had everybody kind of talking to each other like we're supposed to in this world, and having a conversation about what each's needs are, how they can help each other out. So it's no longer, two people fighting, Glinda the Good Witch and, whatever the other one was. Yeah,
I think, and then when that happens, then because those two are loud voices, right? Those are the yellers.
yes.
Then shut those two up. You're able to discern the quiet little voice within,
Right.
which is the actual helpful guidance.
Yes.
Rather than the day-to-day drama going at it.
Right. And it's drama every day. It's like every day we're dealing with the exact same problems. And the thing that people don't realize is we can stop literally getting mad about those things. We can stop, obsessing about them. We can stop being frustrated, at a superior. We can stop holding grudges with people. We can stop comparing ourselves to everybody else. We actually can change that so that we don't do that anymore. And if we do it, it doesn't have any of that nasty voice of you'll never be good enough, or why do you even try, or what are you doing this for? It
Right.
takes all of that away, because we're able to get the body to work together, kind of like a symphony works together. And when that happens, then everybody can think clearer and find solutions to problems instead of waste our time, being angry because somebody once again was a jerk, and
right. Well, and the great thing about that is that once you do that, once you get yourself in that good headspace, that's when you find that most people, when they are intuitive, and we all are, every single one of us is psychic, but you don't have time, or you don't know how to discern the psychic voice, the psychic information from the daily chatter. But once you shut up the daily chatter, then you're much more aware of synchronicities and coincidences and timing and all those things together. And then you start to see that you have access to more information that normal people just running through the daily chatter don't tune into.
Right. You know, one of the reasons I wanted to do this as a group coaching program is because what people don't realize is when they start getting the daily stresses off of their system, when they start understanding kind of how their body works a little bit better, all of these emotions that we've been harboring or suppressing that have been controlling us, all the things that we never say, but when we get triggered, we stew about for 2 days. You know, we don't have to stew about those anymore. But what happens is that they need to kind of come up and out. And that can be a little bit scary because suddenly, you know, let's say your sweat smells differently, or you're in the middle of a divorce proceedings and you're shaking instead of, you know, being stoic, or you find that you're yelling at people that deserve to be yelled at, but you would have never, ever had the inner strength to yell at in the past. You would have just walked away or blown it off because, you know, because you felt helpless. So these emotions kind of get unpacked. But when we do it in this kind of environment, it means that you can work things out instead of act things out. Because the biggest problems, as you'd say, is that people act out those old memories and those old patterns and those old relationships over and over instead of taking the time to slow down and work it out, to sort it out, to get it out of our system and to kind of get the whole system back aligned, you know, back in order, cleaning house.
Right. And then once you do that, then that's again when you are able to work on bigger and better things, because you're no longer working on surviving. You're working on thriving. And when you decide to thrive, when you're able to thrive, and you can't do that when you're panicked and angry and depressed and all those other things, then when you're not those things, then suddenly a new world opens up of now what I want to do and how can I do it and what's the best way to do it and who's got the best information out there for me and how do I tap into that information. And, you know, again, you see these synchronicities start to show up, and all of a sudden the people you need to be in your life show up, and you wouldn't have noticed that before because you're so busy just making sure that you survive. And then once you realize, like, not only am I surviving, but things are going pretty good, all of a sudden the universe kind of responds to that and says, you're right. Here, let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you. Now your eyes are open. Let me help you. And
Yes.
we're more apt to receive help and acknowledge help instead of sitting quietly trying to figure it all out on our own.
So why do you think women should work with you and me specifically? Why shouldn't they, you know, I don't know, go to Hay House and download all the ebooks?
Well, you can, right? I mean, you can do that. We've done that, I'm sure. We've read enough stuff to, you know, we can quote a library. The difference between reading something and being in a group and doing something is huge, because with my information that I get and how I've learned to tap into information, and then with your techniques of learning how to get stuff off your system, you're actually going to physically be doing things. You're not just going to talk about doing things, you're going to do them and see what happens when you do them. So I'm hoping to get a few things in when we do group, a few projects for people to learn how to tap into their intuition and hopefully see that the information's there. They just have to, it's like a muscle. You have to learn how to use it, but you can't use it just talking about using it. You can't use it by learning somebody else's technique in no other way. You have to be able to try multiple things and see what works best for you. I mean, you use several techniques. You don't just stand by one. And I personally learned how to use several different techniques because we're unique. Our bodies are made up differently. You know, some people are more visual, some people are more, you know, attuned to hearing things, some people are more empathic and pick up on stuff. And it's all, we're going to try to put all that together, hopefully. Pick out the best.
What makes the timing perfect? You know, what's really good about the timing, do you think, about doing something at the beginning of the year to, you know, to set the tone for the year? to be kind of in alignment with the universe?
Right. Well, as we're coming into the new year, I have another group of friends that always does a circle for like the Celtic seasons, right? Now we're starting to come out of that season of darkness. We're starting coming out where you start planting the seeds and getting ready for the spring. You're kind of prepping the soil on a spiritual level, right? Where the days are getting longer. We're noticing that we're coming home from work and it's not as dark as it used to be. And so your body starts revving up a little bit. You start to tuning into that. That's the cycle. That's the cycle of the universe. Winter is a dark time for hibernation and slowing down. And we're coming out of that now. We're moving on to the next cycle where we're starting to not quite plant the seeds yet, but at least get ready to prep the soil so that when the seeds get planted, they're in fertile ground. They can take hold and they can grow. And so that's why this would be a perfect time, because on the year cycle, that's where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really felt that way too. And with everything that's just been shifting, it's good to do whatever we can to get our past cleaned up right now. There's a lot of opportunities ahead, but there's also a lot of drama ahead. And I think it's important, at least for me, to make sure that I'm in the strongest, most balanced place that I can be before before things, turn left or right again, because everything's changing so fast these days.
Right. And it's a good time while things are relatively calm. If nothing else, because it's winter here, right? So we're not outside, we're not being crazy, you're still kind of coming out of hibernation mode. And as long as you're doing that, let's take some more inner time to get stuff revved up and ready to go, so that when spring comes around, nice weather comes around, and you're out seeing people again and having interactions, that you're in a better place to manage that and tune into stuff that way.
So why specifically do you think women should work with me or work with you? What makes us what have you noticed or perceived that makes us kind of stand out a little bit differently than a lot of self-help programs that are going to be out there this January and for the rest of the year? I mean, self-help programs, personal growth programs, they're going through the roof because people really are trying to find some level of balance.
Right. Well, I think the thing about you and I working together is because we're kind of taking a physical approach, and then we're also taking a spiritual approach. I go to you when I need physical work done, when I need massage or any of those kind of things done, because I found that for me, what you're able to do is help me work through energy that I have stored up in my system and release that. And not everybody can do that, right? Like I've had other massage therapists, and some people have been great and some people have been mediocre. So I like to find somebody that works for me, and for that, you work for me. And then at that same point, I think me being able to bring some divine inspiration, some memos from the universe, what do I need to learn right now, and what's most beneficial to me. And then I think when we get that information and we start working with it, and again, I'm going to push some people to try to get out of their psychic shells a little bit and use the skills that I know everybody has. And I think that might be a little bit different, because sometimes people are working on one level or the other only. They're not trying to integrate the whole being. And I think you and I are. We're trying to get your physical body prepped, because in order to do spiritual work, and frankly, the planet needs a lot more light workers. You have to be in
healthy light workers.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because when you start working with higher frequency, higher energy, intuition stuff, and you're not yourself in a good headspace, you get some really convoluted messages. You get some stuff that resonates only on a personal level and not on a higher level. And luckily, I think I'm pretty well rounded in the head.
I would agree. Yeah, that's why I work with you, because I'm super skeptical of metaphysical people, because they make me nuts and they think they make a lot of stuff up. And so
There's a lot of whack jobs out there. That's for sure.
I'm pretty particular, you know, and I resisted. I totally did. And said, but you and I have talked the same language for so long that I became a believer. And as soon as I started to get smart enough to listen to what you were telling me and to follow some of it, when I smartened up with that, things just kept going easier and easier. And that's what I loved about it, was like, oh, I not only get the gift of believing in something bigger than myself, I actually get like benefits from it. It's super cool. And so,
It's amazing how, yeah, when you actually listen to the advice, let's say the universe or your guides or whatever you want to call it, when you actually listen to it and do the homework that they give you, and they almost always give you homework, it's amazing how well that works, how correct the information. I mean, because it's not me personally. I don't know half the things about people I give readings for because I don't want to. There's no benefit for me to know your life story.
right.
But the universe already knows it before you ask the question. And that's what's awesome, is when suddenly you're getting information that Jennie doesn't know, but somehow it's coming out of Jennie's mouth. And then you have to, which is why I always try to get information that I say, like, give me some verifiable information first so that this person can believe that I'm connecting with something higher. And then once I have them tuned into, like, this sounds, she should know that. How does she know that? Now let's give them some little pearls of wisdom to work with. Yeah. And it could be anything from watching what you eat, changing your diet, trying different things, to practicing different stuff when you're sleeping, to learning how to meditate with different practices. I don't know. It's not up to me. I'm just, sometimes I don't even know what they're talking about. I'm like, I don't know, go Google this. Here's the frame of what I'm talking about. Find out what it's actually called.
Funny. Okay, so we're going to wrap up for today. So if anybody's been watching this, and I'm sure plenty of women have because they need to, the link is above in the copy. If you're intrigued, if you're curious, follow it, find out about us, message us if you need to, register, do whatever, because we're trying to raise the vibration of the whole planet. And we're doing it by working with the women that we like to work with, which are, cool women like you. like everybody like us, and like everybody who would watch a video like this.
Right. I'll try to link it to my page on the Mystic Sisters page.
Great.
To reach people there. So if you can make that available for me to share, absolutely. I can share it there. Awesome. And then people can try to dive into both sides of us and see if they're ready to take the plunge.
Yeah, that's fun. That's perfect. Okay. Awesome. Bye, Jennie. Thank you.
Bye. See you later.
Uh-huh.